Welcome to the Elderly Pathways channel. If you're approaching your 70s or already enjoying this golden chapter of life, you've probably already realized how significant and transformative this milestone can be. Turning 70 isn't just another number. It's an invitation to pause, reflect, and reassess your journey so far. It's the perfect time to take stock of everything you've experienced, from career milestones to personal achievements, and consider what truly matters. You've likely gained years of wisdom, resilience, and insights into what brings you fulfillment. But as we grow older, it becomes more and more clear that some things no longer serve us the way they once did. This stage of life is an opportunity to let go of old burdens, unnecessary expectations, and pressures that have accumulated over the years. Reaching 70 encourages you to focus on freedom and simplicity. You have the chance to break free from the noise and clutter that may have held you back before, and to embrace a life that is authentically yours. You don't need to chase after fleeting societal ideals or live up to others' standards anymore. Instead, you can fully immerse yourself in the things that make you feel alive, whether it's nurturing relationships, discovering new hobbies, or simply enjoying quiet moments of peace. This is a time to prioritize your happiness and well-being above all else. It's about embracing freedom, simplicity, and a life filled with joy. As you step into this new chapter, think about how you can live more intentionally, leaving behind what no longer serves you. What do you truly want to focus on moving forward? The possibilities are endless, and the journey ahead could be more fulfilling than you ever imagined. So let's explore this exciting path together, one step at a time. As we reach the age of 70, something incredible happens. Our perspective on life shifts in a way that can be both liberating and empowering. Take someone like Tom, for example. In his younger years, he was always concerned about how others saw him. He worked hard to meet the expectations of his family, his friends, and society at large. Whether it was choosing a career path, making personal decisions, or even deciding how he dressed, Tom was constantly seeking approval from others. The fear of judgment weighed heavily on him, and this influenced many of his choices. He was driven by the desire to fit in, to make others proud, and to avoid any kind of disapproval. However, by the time Tom turned 70, he began to notice something fascinating. The things that once mattered so much, what people thought of him, how his peers perceived his success, started to lose their grip on his heart and mind. It wasn't that Tom suddenly stopped caring about others, but his years of life experience had taught him a valuable lesson. True happiness doesn't come from external validation. Instead, it comes from being true to oneself and living in alignment with personal values. At 70, Tom realized that the approval of others is fleeting and often unreliable. He found peace in following his own path, not because he didn't care about relationships, but because he understood that his worth was not determined by anyone else's opinion. For example, Tom once spent years working a high-pressure job to meet societal standards of success. Now he enjoys spending time gardening, reading, and traveling, things that truly bring him joy, regardless of what anyone else might think. As we embrace our 70s, we too can experience this shift. The pressure to conform slowly melts away, and we become free to live more authentically, doing what feels right for us, not for anyone else. As we age and reach the milestone of 70, many of us begin to see life in a new light. The pursuit of material possessions, which once seemed so important, gradually loses its appeal. Let's take Sarah as an example. When Sarah was in her 40s and 50s, she was constantly chasing after the next best thing. New clothes, a bigger house, a newer car. She believed that happiness could be found in owning more things, thinking that each new possession would bring her closer to fulfillment. Her house was full of things, furniture, gadgets, decorations, but over time she realized that these things didn't bring the lasting happiness she expected. By the time Sarah turned 70, her perspective shifted dramatically. As she looked around her home, she realized that the material possessions she had accumulated over the years were, in many ways, just clutter. Some items held sentimental value, yes, but many simply gathered dust, taking up space in her life both physically and mentally. The new car, the expensive furniture, and even the fashionable clothes, none of them brought her the deep joy she had hoped for when she first bought them. Instead, Sarah found that her true happiness lay in relationships, memories, and personal growth. She began to treasure the moments spent with loved ones, the quiet conversations over coffee, and the laughter shared with friends. Sarah also discovered a newfound love for writing, a passion she had long put aside. These things, people, experiences, and personal development, filled her heart in a way that material goods never could. At 70, Sarah embraced the idea that happiness doesn't come from owning more. It comes from living fully, cultivating meaningful connections, and continuing to grow. The simple joys of life, those that can't be bought, became her greatest treasures. As we age and reach our 70s, one of the most freeing realizations is that it's okay to step back from social obligations that no longer serve us. Take Linda, for example. In her earlier years, Linda felt it was her duty to attend every family gathering, every work event, and every social obligation. She often said yes out of politeness, fearing that saying no would make her appear rude or uncaring. Whether it was a wedding, a birthday party, or even a casual dinner with acquaintances, Linda was always there, doing what was expected of her. But over time, she began to feel drained and disconnected. While she was constantly surrounded by people, she often felt emotionally exhausted and unfulfilled. When Linda turned 70, something shifted within her. She began to realize that life is too short to spend it on activities or relationships that didn't bring her joy or align with her values. One example was her monthly book club, which she had once enjoyed, but now felt more like a chore. The discussions had become repetitive, and the group's values no longer resonated with her. Linda realized it was perfectly okay to step back. She no longer felt the need to attend out of obligation. This newfound freedom allowed Linda to focus on what truly mattered. She started saying yes only to gatherings and events that brought her genuine happiness, spending time with close friends, having deep conversations, and engaging in activities that aligned with her passions. Linda also learned to prioritize her alone time, something she had always neglected in favor of meeting others' expectations. At 70, Linda embraced the fact that her time was precious. Saying no wasn't about being selfish. It was about protecting her energy, preserving her peace, and living authentically. The lesson here is simple. It's never too late to say no to what no longer serves you and yes to what truly fills your soul. As we age, one of the most liberating shifts we experience is letting go of society's unrealistic beauty standards. Take Helen, for instance. In her younger years, she spent countless hours in front of the mirror, worrying about her appearance, how smooth her skin was, how toned her body looked, and whether her hair was perfectly styled. Helen followed every trend, spending money on beauty products, facials, and treatments, all in an attempt to maintain that youthful appearance she thought was essential for her happiness and self-worth. She constantly compared herself to the flawless images in magazines, wondering why she didn't look like that. But as Helen approached her 70s, she began to feel a profound shift in her perspective. One day, she looked in the mirror and saw her first gray hairs. At first, she felt a wave of panic. Was she still attractive? Was she aging too quickly? But then, something incredible happened. Helen began to embrace those gray hairs as a symbol of the life she had lived. Each wrinkle told a story of her laughter, her tears, her triumphs, and her challenges. Those lines weren't imperfections. They were marks of wisdom, resilience, and experience. Helen realized that true beauty wasn't about flawless skin or the absence of wrinkles. It was about the confidence that comes from within, the kindness she radiated to others, and the authenticity she had embraced throughout her life. Her beauty now came from the way she treated others, the love she gave, and the joy she exuded, not from conforming to fleeting societal ideals. Helen's journey is a reminder that, as we age, we no longer need to chase beauty based on external standards. Wrinkles and gray hair are simply proof of the incredible lives we've lived. True beauty lies in our confidence, kindness, and the authenticity we share with the world. It's time to stop trying to fit into a mold, and start celebrating the beauty that's uniquely ours. As we grow older, one of the most powerful choices we can make is to reassess the activities we hold on to, especially those that no longer bring us joy or fulfillment. Take David, for example. David spent much of his life dedicated to a variety of hobbies: golf, attending weekly social club meetings, and volunteering at his local community center. For years, these activities were a central part of his life, and he found comfort in the routine. However, as time went on, David started feeling less excited about these routines. What used to bring him joy now felt like obligations rather than passions. One Saturday morning, as David prepared for his weekly golf game, he realized that he no longer felt the thrill he once did. The game had become a repetitive task, draining his energy rather than uplifting him. He also began to notice that the social club meetings, once full of engaging conversations, had become mundane and uninteresting. Despite feeling this shift, David felt a strong pull to continue because they had always been part of his life. But then, David had a breakthrough. He realized that he no longer had to hold on to these activities out of habit or obligation. Instead of attending the golf game out of a sense of duty, he decided to try something new. He enrolled in a painting class he had always been curious about. To his surprise, he felt a deep sense of excitement and fulfillment that he hadn't experienced in years. The quiet focus and creativity of painting brought him joy in a way that golf no longer did. David's story is a reminder that life after 70 is a time to evolve and make room for new passions. It's okay to let go of outdated routines and explore new activities that spark joy, creativity, and personal growth. Embrace the freedom to choose what truly fulfills you and leave behind what no longer serves your happiness. The world is full of opportunities waiting to be explored. Now is the time to follow your curiosity and thrive. As we age, one of the most transformative realizations is the importance of protecting our emotional well-being by letting go of toxic relationships. Take Karen, for example. Karen had always been the person who kept everyone around her happy. She'd spent decades nurturing her friendships and family relationships, often putting the needs of others before her own. But over time, she started to notice a pattern. Some of her relationships, particularly with a longtime friend Lucy, had become increasingly draining. Lucy, once a close friend, had turned into someone who constantly criticized Karen, belittling her achievements and making her feel unappreciated. At first, Karen shrugged it off, telling herself it was just Lucy's way, or that she was simply having a tough time. But as the years passed, Karen realized that every interaction with Lucy left her feeling emotionally exhausted. The negativity and constant judgment had started to take a toll on her mental and physical health. One day, after yet another draining conversation with Lucy, Karen had a breakthrough. She realized that tolerating this toxic relationship wasn't doing her any good. The energy she spent trying to please someone who didn't lift her up could be better used on relationships that truly nurtured and supported her. It was time to make a change. Karen decided to have a candid conversation with Lucy, expressing her feelings and setting boundaries. To her surprise, Lucy didn't take the conversation well, but Karen felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She knew that by letting go of this toxic relationship, she was making space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Karen's journey is a powerful reminder that our time and energy are valuable. As we age, it's essential to focus on relationships that bring positivity and growth, and to walk away from those that drain us. Letting go of toxic relationships may be difficult, but it is one of the most freeing and empowering choices you can make for your emotional well-being. By surrounding yourself with those who truly care, you can cultivate a life filled with love, support, and peace. As we move through life, one of the most detrimental habits we can fall into is comparing ourselves to others. Take Emma's story, for instance. Emma spent much of her younger years measuring her success against her friends, colleagues, and even strangers she saw on social media. If her friend Rachel got a promotion, Emma felt inadequate. When her cousin posted about her dream vacation, Emma couldn't help but feel jealous. She constantly measured her worth by comparing her achievements to others, never truly celebrating her own journey. But as Emma reached her 70s, something shifted within her. She began to realize that comparing herself to others was robbing her of joy. One day, while reflecting on her life, she had an epiphany. Why should I measure my success by someone else's yardstick, she thought. What if my achievements are valuable in their own right, even if they look different from someone else's? Emma decided to focus on her own growth instead of constantly looking at others. She remembered the time she had learned how to play the piano, a hobby she had always wanted to try but never felt good enough to start. Over the years, she had gone from playing simple tunes to performing at small gatherings, and the joy she felt in those moments was unparalleled. This was a significant personal achievement, yet she had often dismissed it in the past, comparing it to the professional successes of her peers. By shifting her focus to her own journey, Emma found greater contentment. She started celebrating her personal accomplishments, no matter how small they seemed. She embraced her unique path, one full of learning, growth, and personal victories. Emma's story is a powerful reminder that comparing ourselves to others only steals the joy we could be experiencing by fully embracing our own progress. Everyone's journey is different, and when we celebrate our personal growth, we open the door to a deeper sense of fulfillment and happiness. As we age, one of the most profound realizations we encounter is that our priorities and goals often evolve, making some of the ambitions we once held feel outdated or irrelevant. Take John's story, for example. In his younger years, John was determined to climb the corporate ladder. His focus was solely on securing promotions, increasing his salary, and achieving the title of CEO. Every decision he made was shaped by this goal, whether it was working late nights, sacrificing family time, or putting personal interests aside. He believed that once he reached the top, he would finally find the fulfillment he sought. However, as John entered his 70s, he found himself at a crossroads. While his career had brought him success, it also came at a cost. He had missed many family events, and his health had started to suffer from the long hours and constant stress. He began to feel a growing sense of emptiness, realizing that the pursuit of a title or salary increase no longer held the same allure. What had once felt like a fulfilling goal now seemed like an old dream that no longer aligned with his true desires. This realization prompted John to reassess his life goals. Instead of continuing to chase after professional achievements that no longer brought him joy, John decided to focus on what truly mattered to him now, spending quality time with his children and grandchildren, traveling to places he had always wanted to visit, and dedicating himself to hobbies that brought him peace, like painting and gardening. He realized that fulfillment wasn't about reaching the top of a career ladder. It was about living in alignment with his values and creating a life filled with experiences that nourished his soul. John's journey illustrates the importance of regularly reevaluating our goals, especially as we age. The ambitions of our youth may no longer fit with the person we've become. Instead of clinging to outdated goals, it's crucial to focus on what truly brings happiness, fulfillment, and a deeper sense of purpose as we move through life. As we move through life, particularly as we reach our 70s, one of the most important lessons we can learn is that prioritizing our own happiness is not something to feel guilty about. It's essential for our well-being. Let's consider Sarah's story. For most of her life, Sarah was the go-to person for everyone around her. Whether it was family, friends, or colleagues, she always put others first, often neglecting her own needs. She spent years running around, making sure everyone else was happy and comfortable, all while pushing aside her own desires and interests. But as Sarah grew older, she started to feel the effects of this constant self-sacrifice. She felt physically exhausted, emotionally drained, and, most importantly, disconnected from the things that once brought her joy. Despite her busy life of taking care of others, she realized she hadn't truly taken care of herself in years. The guilt she felt when even considering taking time for herself was overwhelming. One day, after a conversation with a close friend, Sarah had an epiphany. Her friend reminded her that self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup, her friend said. By neglecting yourself, you're not only hurting yourself, but you're also limiting your ability to support others. This simple yet powerful message hit Sarah like a wave of clarity. She began to realize that when she neglected her own happiness, she wasn't able to show up for others in the way she truly wanted. Sarah decided to embrace the idea of self-care, starting with small acts of kindness toward herself. Whether it was enjoying a quiet afternoon with a good book, taking a walk in nature, or simply taking time to relax, Sarah began to feel more energized and at peace. By prioritizing her own happiness, Sarah found that she was not only able to take better care of herself, but also to be there for others in a more meaningful, present way. This story serves as a reminder that taking care of yourself isn't an indulgence. It's an investment in your health and your ability to help those around you. It's common to feel guilty when we prioritize our own happiness, but the truth is, taking care of ourselves is one of the most important things we can do for our well-being. Let's think about Jane, for example. She spent years putting everyone else's needs above her own, her children, her friends, her work. While she found joy in helping others, she neglected her own happiness and health. Over time, she felt exhausted, emotionally drained, and disconnected from her true self. It wasn't until she started carving out time for herself, whether it was enjoying a hobby, taking a walk in nature, or just relaxing with a good book, that she noticed a significant change. By focusing on her own well-being, Jane found that she felt more energized, happier, and able to connect with others in a more meaningful way. She was no longer running on empty. Taking care of herself didn't mean she cared any less about others. It meant she could be the best version of herself for them. If you're someone who struggles with putting yourself first, remember, self-care is essential. It's not selfish. It's necessary. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Your well-being matters, and you deserve to live it fully.